today? Any new people? Anyone who hasn't been here for a while? Like
I
Phil.
haven't. It's the first time this month.
First time this month. Okay, thanks. All right, if there aren't any guests or long lost members, I would all like you guys to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, does anyone have any health and welfare? Anyone?
What was the question?
Health and welfare. Health and welfare. I did get an email from Harley Perkins. He is doing well. They say that his memory is starting to slip a little bit, but they have moved. And one thing they want to know is if anyone can come by and pick him up to take him to the meetings. So if that is a possibility, let me know and I can give you their new address. But Harley is one of the founding members and he would very much like to attend the meeting. So if anyone can stop by and pick him up, that would be great. So if you want to be able to do that, see me afterwards and I can get you his new address.
What part of town does he live in? Where did you live?
Oh, okay. Let me see. I will forward that in an email to everyone, but no, he's not far away. He's still in Portland, but he moved from his downtown address. So do we have any other health and welfare? All right, next up. We have the secretary's minutes, but Dan is not here. Does anyone want to go ahead and move that we let people read the minutes in the newsletter and bypass this? Okay, does anyone want to second that?
I second.
Okay, all in favor of not reading the minutes from last month, say aye.
Aye.
So Dawn, where are you?
Over here.
Oh, Dawn. Dawn is our secretary for this month. Thank you so much for doing this for us. We're shorthanded this month because there's the Mike and Key Show, which is every year, second Saturday of March. And I would like to think about for 2023 to postpone or change our meeting so it does not conflict with the Mike and Key. Because we have a lot of people who would like to attend that. And I think it would be a good idea, maybe for the month of March, to change our meeting so it's either before or after, or possibly make it a Zoom meeting so that people can attend both. So I want to keep that in mind and we can readdress it later on this year or possibly early next year, but we have to get the change in ahead of time so we can book this location for March. Any thoughts on that? You guys think that's an okay idea?
They always have their meet on the second Saturday in March.
Yes, and what I've been told, it's been going on for years and years. So we've always conflicted. Is that true?
I think so.
Yes, Jerry.
And I was gonna say, since you're talking about a year from now, why doesn't the board just pick the alternate Saturday and just tell us a whole year in advance? Any either Saturday before or after should be just fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like something down. You could, I'll just write that down that we'll choose a different day. Does anyone have any thoughts? Can it be on a Sunday? Can it be a day after Mike and Key? Should it be a week before, a week after? We can determine that, but is there any preference?
I think Saturday, a week before, a week after.
Okay, I heard it's Saturday, the week before, week after, we'll determine, the board will determine it and get back to you.
Yeah, I just get a hold of Judy and see what's available.
Yeah.
And go with that.
Right, we need to do that because there was a Saturdays open, but they fill up. Okay, so next up, we have the treasurer's report.
Okay, even though we've had some volatility in, stock market, we're holding up just fine, just under $48,000 for Jim Basic Fund.
Wow.
And we're carrying about $9,300 in cash.
Cool.
Any questions?
Okay. Okay, Ed, thanks. I forgot to mention that we have new members, Roy Gabriel, Michael Hendrickson, and Charles Ross. So we have, we're actually getting a few members, new members every month. So don't forget to tell your friends, invite them here. We'll see. Oh. Do we have a new guest? Yes, do we have a guest?
We're so glad to have somebody new here.
Yes.
I didn't realize. Hi, I'm Rosemond Scott from Portland. I don't know a damn thing about the radios, but I have a bunch of them. I just got a Cochromatic.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay. Y'all don't forget to get her information. Okay, wow, maybe even another new member. Okay, no, Dick is not here today. Okay, I guess they're talking about business. So next up, do we have any leads or needs? Leads or needs? Just want to mention that John Busick contributed a soldering gun to NWVRS, so this is available to check out. Any other leads or needs?
Pat, I'm gonna mention to the club, after my tech talk, I'm also donating a long extension cord, possibly an extra, that we can have here in the club. So it's a two-prong to two-prong, so I'm donating it to the club for us.
Oh, thank you. David is donating. Damon is donating a two-prong extension cord because sometimes we can't use the three-prong, correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I understand. All right, next up. Does anyone recognize what this is? This is a brand new antenna back made by Mr. Wells over here, Daniel. And I was able to purchase this from him at a very, very reasonable price. So he is able to make these and sell them to you. What we need now is a bunch of patterns and requests for backs to be made so he can make them. Obviously, making one of them, you know, is okay, but if we can get it so that we give him a multiple order, these I believe will be cheaper. Is that true, Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Do they
George.
come with antenna wire on them?
That doesn't have it. That's just a
No,
form.
No. No, they do not. Why don't I pass this around and I look for some batteries? You guys can look at that. Sorry about that. So are there any other leads or needs? Yes, Daniel.
So I have a CNC router, and so if we have files, we can, just easily make them. But that also goes into radio faces too. So if someone wants or needs a radio face, it's pretty intricate CNC router.
Daniel, can you do like radio backs too?
Like the back half of the antenna.
Yeah.
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 I
Okay.
can get a drawing, I can cut it.
Okay, great.
So no other leads or needs?
I'm looking for a working Philco shadow meter.
A working Philco shadow meter.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other leads or needs, we'll go to old business. Does anyone want to bring up any old business? Okay, we have one item, it's the Sparks Museum Tour. We've been working on this to provide transportation up to the Sparks Museum. We have the ability to charter a large bus. It would hold 50-some people. It does have restroom facilities, so we would be able to get the cost down, transportation round trip to about $60 per person, because the bus will hold about 53 people, and the cost for the bus is about $3,000. So I know it sounds a lot, but if we can fill up the bus, it would be cheaper than renting, because of the cost of the charter of the bus is a fixed cost. So obviously, the fuller we can get it, the cheaper it would be. Yes, Sonny?
I just drove to Seattle and back, and it cost me $40 for gas to drive up and back. So keep that in mind. That's a pretty good deal to go all the way to Bellingham. Also, you might mention that's formerly the Bellingham Radio Museum.
Okay, this is, yes.
That's not bad.
So, but the nice thing about that would be that you don't have to do anything. You come in, you can sit down and enjoy the ride, and there would be restroom facilities in there. So the problem we would have is, Sonny, how long did it take you to get up there?
Well, it's Bellingham's a lot farther than Seattle.
Right.
It's near the Canadian border.
So
Well, you'd have twice that much in gas. Of course, I'm speaking to my car. My car gets 22.5 miles per gallon, 22.5 miles per gallon, highway, city and all around. So it's, I don't know, you'd have to figure out, but it's expensive just to drive up and back.
Right. So the logistics of it would be the amount of time to get up there, tour the museum, and then come back. It would be all day. So the thoughts on this trip would be that perhaps we would want to stay overnight, but that's going to add the cost considerably. We have talked about maybe the club or the society would be able to offset some of the costs for the museum, so it's a little bit more reasonably priced. And we thought this could be a great way to honor our long-term members by having them come up there. Yes, Sonny?
I just want to mention that it's well worth it. I've been there numerous times. You'll see stuff there you've never seen before. Yeah.
Okay, so we are looking into this, so just want to keep that in mind. I don't know how many people would be interested in going on this. You have to remember there is a cost. Okay, all right, we have some. Like I say, the charter bus is a fixed cost, so we would want to fill it up. If we couldn't fill it up, then we would think about inviting PSARA members to fill the bus up, just so it's a little bit more reasonably priced. Like I say, there may be some logistics problems because we could start early in the morning, we could fall asleep on the bus and fall asleep on the way back, but we would basically come back when it would be dark. Because if it's what, 4 hours up, 4 hours back? Sonny, what's a good amount of time to spend at the museum? 4 hours? 3 hours?
You can spend the day afternoon there easily.
Easily, okay, so there, you may not be able to see everything, so these are things to think about. Anyhow, we're working the loose ends on this, so we'll get back to you. Does anyone have any other old business? Okay, we'll switch over to new business. Anyone want to bring up any new business? Okay, one of the things is the April 9th swap meet in Aurora. Robbie, do you have any updates for us?
No, it's.
It's still going on. It's the second Saturday in April. It's gonna be from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. All right, okay. You can come at Friday afternoon around 4 or 5 o'clock, because I'm gonna be there at 3 setting up the tables with Scott. Is that remind you? Okay, you're there, okay, good. And we're gonna set up all the tables in the afternoon. And then people can come in the afternoon with all their stuff, or they can come in Saturday morning, probably around 7 or 8 o'clock, because the show starts at 9. So that's about it. Anybody got any questions about anything?
How many tables have you blocked in?
I've locked into almost 30 tables now.
Okay, that's a big change.
So how many are left?
Yeah, because upstairs is all full now.
So how many tables are left?
Only one table left downstairs.
Wow, so we're almost completely full.
Yeah,
That's great.
the taps group is there too.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there are gonna be about 6 of the taps groups there. So, if you want a table, you better, if there's one left, you better get it now, if you want one. So, okay. All right.
Okay, Robbie, thanks. So you hear that? There's only one table left. So, and unfortunately is in downstairs. So Robbie, are the tables downstairs cheaper because they're downstairs?
Yeah, we can make them cheaper.
Okay, they're cheaper than the upstairs.
But there's only one left.
That's true. Okay, so other new items. We've had some interesting things come in on the suggestion box. One of the suggestions was to put the box back there so you could sneak in your idea without anyone seeing you. So that was one of the suggestions. That's great. Another one was to invite the OTAPS people, and that was done because the last time, if you remember, last month, there was only 6 tables. So it caused us to panic. We reached out to the OTAPS people, and so a few of them showed up. And now we have almost full attendance there. One of the other suggestions was the editor didn't want to necessarily be here, so he wanted his portion of the agenda removed. So we have done that. When he does show up, he will let us know and we will put him back in. The other suggestions were we have too many tech talks and they go too long. So sorry about that. I believe we have that adjusted for this meeting, and going forward, we won't have 3 hours of tech talks in the same meeting. Oh, what's this one?
3 hours. We've never gone 3 hours.
I didn't write that one up, sorry. Oh, here's one. There was a concern that perhaps during the tech talks, we could keep it quiet, and if there's people that need to talk, if they could keep it down or maybe go outside, because apparently some people are upset because there's people talking during the meetings. Sorry. Yes, George.
I thought, if my memory serves me right,
that one of the things that I found very exciting in the beginning of my coming to this meeting was there was technical talks, and there was people that you could ask questions to if you didn't understand what you were working with. I don't think we should ever dismiss the tech talk accomplishments it does. The only thing that I would say is tech talks should have more ability for people to raise their hands and ask questions. That's the only thing I could see which would improve the tech talks. But we should always have it. That's what the club stands for.
George?
Yes.
I won't speak to who put that in, but being the bartender type, hearing a lot of stuff from Drew, I don't think it's the engagement part of that you're talking about. I think it's when folks are here for a tech talk and there are side conversations not related to tech talk that are disruptive to those. I think that's where that's coming from, Pat.
Yes, yes.
That's not what I was addressing.
I think George was worried about not having tech talks because we need tech talks. I think this comment was to say, we don't want to spend 3 hours in tech talks, but I believe we've taken care of that. Is that true?
Well, if they're too long, I'm happy to withdraw ours.
No, never. Don't do that.
But we've never approached even 2 hours in a tech. I don't understand where 3 hours of tech talks
I
comes from.
think it was an exaggeration.
All right.
But
Well, we're not asking for exaggeration.
It says 3 hours, sorry, okay. But if you look at this, the new agenda, we adjourn the meeting, have a short intermission, and then we have another presentation. So we're not cutting out any tech talks. If you don't want to attend 3 hours meeting, you can go home. Right? So if you've noticed your agenda, these get sent out 1 week ahead of every meeting. It says we have a adjournment, a short intermission, and then another presentation. So I believe we've taken care of this issue. I think if you don't want to attend here for 3 hours, listen to some really good stuff, you can go home. True?
Yeah.
It's always been that way.
Well, I believe the month that this came up was we had 2 tech talks before the meeting was adjourned. So I believe we've solved that problem. So please put in your suggestions, put it in the box. If you want, you can call any of the board members. You can send us a letter, you can send us an email, or you can put an anonymous suggestion back in the box back there.
Or bring a sack lunch.
Big enough for everybody.
Yeah. You don't have to wait to eat.
All right, next up in our new business is that we are coming up with the 50th anniversary of NWVRS. So we want to plan ahead and have something special. So does anyone want to go ahead and be on that committee for the presentation? I know it's not until 2024, but we want to have this thought and planned out well ahead, well in advance. So does anyone have a desire to be on the committee honoring our society's 50th anniversary?
When would you hold it? Or do you know?
Well, we don't know. It'd have to be sometime in 2024. Does anyone remember when the society was formed? Was it what particular month? Was it spring, summer, fall, winter?
Ask Harley.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask him. But I'm thinking that we should do something special for our 50th. Yes, Sonny, you're volunteering?
Treat everybody to a nice dinner at the Sailors or someplace like that. I remember when I first joined this group back in the early '80s, we used to have regular meetings at places like that, where everybody enjoyed a dinner together, or a lunch, or, you know, an early dinner, like 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Did the society pay for everyone's lunch?
Society paid for it.
Don, did you write that down? Wow. That sounds great.
We can afford it once a year or once every 2 or 3 years.
Once every 5 years.
Can we, you have to convince, you don't have to convince, you have to convince. some-
No, you have to convince the members, that's all.
Okay, that's a great, I'm glad you mentioned that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I second that.
Okay. So we have a couple years to think about it, but thanks, Sandy. That's, we can look into that for sure. Okay, the next new item coming up is the July picnic. We are thinking of having a combined event with PSARA in Chehalis at Farrow Field. It would be free to us as far as the rental of the fairgrounds there. Well, it's not fairground, it's the airstrip there.
Is that the place we went up
Yes.
last summer too?
That is the same exact place that we had our August swap meet, combined swap meet. So is there any interest of having our picnic with them up there? I have already reserved July 23rd, which is a Saturday, for this event. Yes, Robbie.
I think we should do it.
How many people would want to attend? It would be a barbecue, so you would have to bring a potluck. We've asked the Farrowfield people if they would host the or cater the meal like they did last time, and they said they could not do it. So we are stuck on our own. Arlene is out of the picture. She is no longer doing catering, so we would have to have barbecuers. I suppose the club could do like they normally do, purchase the meats, pop, and then everyone else has to bring a potluck dish. So how many people would want to attend this? Can I have a show of hands? Okay, remember, this is also a swap meet, because usually when we have our picnic in July here, we have the barbecue and we have a summer meet. And if we combine that with PSARA, it could be a bigger event. Plus, the reason why July 23rd was picked is because the Chehalis Valley Amateur Radio Society also has a swap meet that same weekend at the convention center. So if we pull all of our resources together, we should have a bigger event. Plus, you could go to the ham meet and to our meet, they would only be miles apart. So I've already talked to, we're talking with Bill, the president of Chehalis Amateur Radio Club, to see, you know, how we can work things out. Okay, so we do have a good show of hands. Yes.
I had a question on how you're gonna keep the food cool or cold, as far as if people are bringing potato salads, macaroni salads,
What did we do last
green
year?
salads. Well, it was quicker here, I think, more convenient, because there you're gonna have a lot, I think, more time involved in the getting up there. So I don't know how, I mean, coolers or whatever people would have to, I would think, put them in.
Okay.
I would think that would be up to the individual who brings stuff like that. They would
That's what I'm
probably
saying,
bring
though,
it in
but-
a cooler.
yeah.
Okay, so there'll be some logistics problems. Yes.
Just to mention, the club does own an ice chest that's specifically designed to hold 24 cans of soda. If you're interested, I have possession of the ice.
Okay, good. So we would have to think of food safety. We'd have to refrigerate the potato salads, other cream,
meat.
things like that.
The
Meat,
meat.
yes. Well,
I mean,
usually,
you'd probably buy it frozen.
right. Usually the meat is frozen because from what I understand, you keep the meat frozen before you throw it on the barbecue. It keeps them together. It's a trick. So keeping the hot items hot, I'm not sure how we're gonna do that. Robbie, yes.
Yeah. Speaking of food, we've got a show coming up. Board ever come up with anybody?
Pat did. He thought we were gonna go pizza.
Well, I suggested that, but I don't know if we want to do that because it would be an additional club expense. Yes, Mike, we're gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Yes, for the April show, Arlene's Cuisine usually is in the basement, usually provides a hot meal for a price, but we don't have her anymore. So we're looking for suggestions on what to do for lunch, because about 1 o'clock, people are, noontime, people are gonna be hungry.
Everyone bring what they want to eat.
That's what I said, bring your own picnic lunch.
That's right, bring your own food.
Robbie, do they have a microwave that we can borrow?
There's one downstairs in the kitchen. You want to put it in your car?
What, put it in my car?
Might not have 110 to run it.
There's 110 in the basement, for sure. Okay, we should, all we would need is to make sure there's a microwave.
Are we talking about this open field?
No, they're talking about, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Change the subject.
Yes, we changed it on you without you knowing it. No, Robbie was talking about the April show. There's no lunch, but there is, we think, microwave. And yes, going back to the future in July 23rd, there is no 110 power there. There is restrooms, there's running water, there'll be some covered tent areas, but no power unless Mike brings his generator again.
Yeah, I can bring a generator.
Okay.
And I'm not a case of beer.
Sure. If you want to bring, yeah, if you want to bring his kid, go ahead. Okay, the last new item for this month is we need to form a survey team. April 15th is the final day you can pay for your membership for 2022. After that, we drop you from the roster and you don't get any more communications or anything. So the reason why we need a survey team is right after this meeting, when we find out who hasn't paid, an email will be sent out to everyone who hasn't paid, reminding them they have until April. We also create a call team to call all the members who haven't paid to remind them that April 15th is the due date. And if they don't want to pay up, what we try to do is conduct what we call an exit interview. So if we know somebody is not re-upping their membership, we ask them, they don't have to answer, we ask them, why is that? What did we do wrong? Is there something we could have done differently? We try to solicit them for any information to try to improve our membership so that people don't join and then drop out. So I'm looking for volunteers to be on this call team, because usually it doesn't fail. Every year we have about at least 24 people that will not re-up their membership. And so we like to be able to call them to find out why. Or sometimes when we do call them, they say, oh, I forgot, and they will re-up. But we need call people to handle this task. It's difficult for one person to call these people. If we can split it up amongst 3 or 4 people, that would be appreciated. So let me know if you will volunteer for this task.
No, I'll give it a try.
You give it a try. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thanks, Robbie. Does anyone have any other new items they want to bring up? Nothing? Okay. If that's it, then the next thing is a tech talk by Damon. Are you ready for your tech talk?
Yeah. Is there any show and tell for the month or week?
Well, normally we have the monthly feature. Do you want to do the monthly feature next? It doesn't look like we have anything.
Okay, I'm ready to go if you guys are.
I brought my item.
Oh, sorry.
Let Cindy go first.
Okay.
Show us the item.
Yep.
So this month, I believe, was your favorite tube or favorite
Well-
radio or favorite box?
What I brought was, I couldn't decide on a favorite radio, so I brought one of my favorite radios, which is in the transistor category. And it's a 1957 Arvin, model 8980. It's a model 8576 from 1957. There's a little brochure advertisement for it. And I like it because of the styling and the color, and also it's my favorite year, 1957. So I'll leave that out for all to look at. Any questions?
Does it play?
I don't know. I've never tried it.
What type of battery?
I inspected it for battery corrosion, and one of the terminals on the battery was corroded, so I didn't go any farther.
What type of battery?
It takes a special battery, a special tubular 9-volt battery, which I don't have. And the fittings on that do not fit the conventional 9-volt battery. So I
Then
never
where was
tried
it made? Or do you know?
Huh?
Where it was made?
It was made in the USA. As most Arvin products were made in the USA until I think in the 60s, they started.
When does that start?
What?
It was made in the United States. What was the beginning year?
Of the radio when they start
Oh, Arvin started
manufacturing?
building radios back in the 30s.
Well, I guess my curiosity is how come it's got that oddball 9-volt battery?
Well, a lot of radios in the 50s had 9-volt batteries that were these tubular type.
They were not that.
Yeah, about the size of a C cell.
Yeah.
And they had their terminals on the end.
That's right.
And the terminals were smaller than a conventional 9-volt battery, so you just can't split the thing and clip them on. That's why I never tried it. Because who cares whether it works or not? I can always make it work.
Sunny, or anybody else, I think you can still buy those round 9-volt batteries.
Yeah, if you want to pay the
Plus
price,
volts.
or
If
you can
wanna
just
pay the-
change the connector and use this conventional 9-volt battery in it. There's room for that. So, which is probably what I'll do when I get home.
Okay, are there any more features for the month of March? We apologize. It looks like the call letter editor did not get the feature in this month's issue. We looked. Last month was, yes, so. Right, yes.
But I remember that we had a conversation that we were gonna skip doing the
Yes.
monthly feature, and the tube of the month was X.
Right, that's going to be
We're gonna do
moved to
that
May.
in May, right.
Right, but Franklin came up with, because Franklin wasn't gonna be here, so he said we are supposed to have your favorite tube or favorite radio. That got put in the agenda, I believe, but I apologize, it did not make it here.
I think it is in there. It's
It
hard to
is?
find, but it's in there. Because I couldn't find it. My wife found it.
Okay. Apparently was there somewhere. So if there's no other items for the feature of the month, I'll turn it over to David.
All right.
So while we're, David, are you almost ready?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I I suggest maybe we draw for the door prize for last month. I don't know if we're gonna find anyone from remember, these are last month's tickets. Oh, look at this. The winner is Mike McCrow. Wow. So Mike, you can get a free t-shirt.
Really?
Yes. Did you like mine?
Yeah. Is that what those are?
No.
Oh, for the class. All right, I'll come and get one. Or you want me to get it now?
No, you go and take it back and go through them because they're different sizes.
All right.
One of the things that we changed for the new member application is we put in their birthday. And see, this is March is my birthday month, and I got this for my daughter. Jake, could you read what that says?
Tinker with radios past minutes.
Yes, I tinker with radios past my bedtime. The reason why we ask people to put in their birthday is because other clubs have done this. They have the birthday list. Now, you don't have to give the day and the year, but it would be nice if you supplied us with the month that you were born. And what we would like to be able to do, because it's been done with other clubs, is that they honor members by saying, for the month of March, these are the people that have birthday. So think about that. We would appreciate your information on the month you were born. Okay.
So happy birthday to Pat.
Plus, are there any other people that were born in the month of March? Blake, James, John? Okay.
I won't tell you what green day I was born on.
All right, well, thanks. You guys don't have to supply a birthday, but I think it's just a great way to honor members. Yes. Damon, are you ready? Do you need
Yeah, let me do a test real quick and then I'm ready.
And long distance.
don't forget, we still have one more drawing for the door prize. That's for the month of March. Don't forget to put your ticket back there.
Okay. You guys can see this okay and hear it?
Twin Falls, wow, that's long distance AM. From west of Portland, Oregon to Boise, Idaho. Just on a 3-foot strand antenna.
Pause. See. Documents window. Big scrap story 1.
Here we go.
Now playing big scrap story 1. Pause.
A documentary on recycling. The pile of recycling. A modern day junk dealer.
Put the microphone next to the
Yeah.
speaker.
Okay. And for scrap and stuff for recycling, the tools of the trade. Gotta have your screwdrivers and some sockets, wire cutters, a magnet, and a pry bar. Some of the basics. Okay, here we have 2 different types of chassis. Most common, radio sapphire steel. As steel. This aluminum, we call this dirty aluminum. It's not worth it to take and dismantle the whole thing just to get the faceplate. That's steel on this side, so it's dirty aluminum. And the circuit boards aren't worth taking off. Yeah, some basic components, but for the price I get for those kind of circuit boards, it's cheaper and easier to sell it for steel when steel's 10 cents a pound. So look like this. If I can, I'd probably remove the transformers. That's probably the only thing on here worth for the copper value in the windings. So they give me more for steel value, and probably the power cord. So power cords being what, $1.85 a pound. And they call it 35% insulated wire. So for those, most times it's, especially now when steel is almost 10 cents a pound, you can get straight cash that day for it. So, and then the other stuff, you have to wait a week for a check. So like the dirty aluminum, copper, circuit boards, stuff like that, it's all goes on the check. So, but yeah, there's nothing really salvageable in there. It's steel value. And then I run across a lot of aluminum in different forms. A lot of it is heat sinks or just like other building materials. And this is more like a cast aluminum. It's that cast, but when I run across heat sinks, some of them are just heat sinks, others have fans like this. And I have to dismantle, take the fan off in order to get it just considered aluminum, straight aluminum, not dirty aluminum. These components like transistors and wires back as far as I can. Because some of this solder, I don't want to do that other than just taking the transistor off, and as clean as possible. And then you run across a lot of different types of circuit board stuff. This is older stuff. This is probably what they would call top, lowest grade circuit board, because it does have circuit board tracings and some components on it, which probably have a copper value, along with a little bit of wire. It's not worth it to dismantle it all the way down to the circuit board. And then other component circuit board stuff. This is, like I said, also probably low grade. And it's kind of a toss up to turn in as low grade. Like on this device, probably end up just as steel weight. So it's not worth the time and effort to turn it into low grade circuit board. So this stuff, I can probably sell as low grade and probably cut a little bit of wire off. But give the components and the tracings and all that, or you call it low grade. And then, of course, obviously from like our radio club, we get a lot of little components of stuff, crap. You know, this stuff is considered steel. It's got little tiny wires or like potentiometers, resistors, capacitors, all this stuff. Since it has metal leads on it, not that. Yeah, we got squirrels around here. But these little components are steel based, so you can turn them in for steel. And what I do is usually fill a container like this or a computer case and just toss it all with steel so now the components are loose and rolling around. So turn the whole thing in for steel. So it's not worth for copper bearing material since steel is higher in price. Turn it all in for steel value, it's more the weight. So this is a new find. Somebody gave me an old weed whacker that's broke. Probably the motor doesn't work or froze or something, but it's a tool, it's steel. And so it can be turned in for steel value. So yeah, I can use all sorts of junk that people don't want, throw away and recycle it. And then on some occasions you run across like old oscilloscopes that have a picture tube. You can't really dispose of the picture tube unless you turn it in like an old picture tube TV. So in this case, being it's an oscilloscope, and this is most likely an aluminum frame, there's not much else that can be taken off the frame without dismantling. So to turn it in as a picture tube, I probably want to keep most of this intact. So that way they have a frame and they consider it like a TV set. Because I don't want to mess with
some places are particular,
so
they will not let you turn in a
the only
picture
other thing
tube.
I
So
might
you
be
have
able
to
to take off,
donate it as like a TV
Yeah.
set. That's the only way to dispose of the picture tubes.
And aluminum is worth at
At least
least
where I go at Far West
40
Recycling, that's the
to
way
60
they'll
cents a pound,
accept it
so I
in
can probably,
electronic stand. And I
without
give it to them as an
moving
OTV for
the
free.
frame
That way I
structure
can get
here,
rid of the picture tube.
I can probably take off maybe this back panel, but especially that heat sink is probably 1 or 2 pounds of aluminum, so it's worth it for that. Oh, and besides recycling stuff for a radio club, there's always pop cans. The pop cans being 10 cents a pound, or 10 cents a can, I mean. Take these to the Oregon bottle drop. Take them, you can get, for the Oregon bottle drop, you can get 15 bags every quarter, that's 3 months. Turn in pop cans, that brings in a little extra money too, so. That being aluminum and plastic, you know, it stays out of the landfill and gets recycled. And then you have transformers, another big thing to recycle, take off. As you can tell, there's different types. There's these ones, they're like, for some of the newer stuff, they're not really worth, there's not much big copper in it, but you can sell them as transformer copper windings. But this one I've been able to pry the frame apart to be able to take the paper off to get to the copper windings. And this copper is thick enough and it's worth unwinding sometimes, with copper being almost $3 a pound. There's quite a bit of copper, so they transport. Okay, and then we move on to wire. As you can tell, this is steel wire. Looks like an antenna wire that somebody would use for antenna wire or something. But yeah, this is steel wire, also a steel file. There's other wire like copper, which I have over here.
Any questions so far?
What do you do when it rains?
I have tubs, and apparently a lot of the tubs fill up with water. But some of the tubs I poke holes in to keep the water.
This is like windings from a transformer I own. So copper is almost $3 a pound, so a couple windings of this would give me a pound or two. Moving on to wire, you got several different types. This is more of the common, the thinner stuff, power cords, just wire in circuit, etc. This is usually what they call 35%. And that's being thicker stuff, as long as it's not coax. Coax, they don't give anything for it, steel value. But other wire, copper braided stuff is called 50%, and it's more value. And then what I really like is when people do model their house, and again, the old Romex 3-wire, copper down the middle, and 2 other leads. And if I take this Romex, if I slice it open, you get 80%, and I can take the straight one copper lead out for just copper. This is what you end up, unless you strip this. This is 80%, unless you want to take a box knife and strip it too. So. The hardest part about recycling is what do you do with some of the stuff that is plastic or wood? What do you do with this? This is like one of the radios that didn't sell at our radio auction. I mean, it's a knockoff plastic looking wood. So what do you do with it?
Give it to me.
The best I can do
I didn't know, Pat.
is take off the power cord, cut that out. And sometimes depending on how much is inside
I
of
try to give you
these,
the better stuff, Pat, but this
I
one
might be
was-
able to get away with putting in the it's got 2 speakers, so it's enough steel. I could probably put this in with the steel pile. Probably take the may end up taking the chassis out of the box. But nobody around here recycles plastic, so that may just end up in the garbage can 1 week. But
Yeah.
knobs are
What do you do with
take off,
speakers
put it in a
that
box,
are
sell a box of knobs.
Just a second, let me turn this thing off. I'm done with
But
this part
this
of it.
is, what do you do with it?
Like, see,
That's what Mike said.
What was the question?
What do you do with speakers, maybe some other components that are good, you know?
There are some things that I've seen, like when we do the trash bash, there are some things that pick out that I recognize. Like I think there was one thing that, Mike Densmore gave me before he moved to Idaho. There was a couple of things he gave me in his garage clean out that I had turned around and salvaged. There was like a Grundig radio he gave me that probably needed to be recapped. Like the last thing, the 608 that we had here last month that never sold, that was on the free table, that very big signal generator. I tried to do what I could to relist it on Craigslist, but sometimes nobody wants some of the stuff, and I listed a couple of times. So I try and salvage what I can that looks reasonable and clean or resellable. Or at least I can say I try and sell things which, Red Fox, he never sold anything on Sanford, some that I saw. But I try and salvage what I can that looks clean and resellable. But if it's really beat up, trashed, then it ends up in the recycle pile. So.
and Daniel, when you mentioned, some wires are 50% or 80%.
Yeah.
What is that reference?
Okay, what it's referencing is like the power cord, like this one here, probably cut off a radio or other device. These are 35%. What they're looking for is the thickness and how much copper is probably under the plastic.
Meaning it would be 50% of the weight of the wire is the copper?
I
Is that what you're
believe
saying?
so. I believe that's how they calculate it.
Okay.
But like I was showing, there's some things like coax, like for the old VCRs and old TVs, they don't give me anything for that. It goes in the steel pile because it's got that steel braided
Shield.
protection shield on it. So that just goes in the steel pile. But some of the thicker wire and some of the wire that's thicker, that has thicker copper underneath, if I can with a box knife, I will just go straight down here. I'll put it on like my table, take a box knife and cut down the two leads here. I'll go one lead at a time and strip it down the middle with a box knife. And just be careful not to cut myself. But yeah, like I was showing the Romax, you guys know what is in your walls at home. A newer home from like 1975 and on, that has the three lead wire, and that's what they call the Romex. And usually I'll take that big sheath off, and then it'll give me the copper right down the middle. That's one copper I don't have to strip, and then I'll get the two other leads. If I want to, I can strip it, which they consider that 80% because it's nice thick copper wire.
Okay.
So,
David,
yeah.
so those big copper transformers, did you say that you have to take off the paper too?
Yes, like some of these that Blake brought, like this one here in general, or some of the other ones that are bigger like this, if they have paper on it, I don't know if this has asbestos, which I don't think, or tar. But most times I'll take it, just strip off the paper like this, get down to the copper, pry it off with a screwdriver, and then just a wire cutter, and just start unwinding it if I can. Some transformers, you can start doing that. There's enough room between the steel fingers here. Otherwise, sometimes I have to take a screwdriver and a hammer and just start prying these apart until I can break them off a couple and then start unwinding. It depends on the transformer, but most of these have a lot of copper in them. So I have the time, I'm disabled, so I have the time to sit there for an hour or two and just unwind it. So otherwise, I mean, if I had all the power tools, then I'd have like a metal saw and just cut the frame, but I don't. And then, the other part, which I didn't get the video to work right. My other thing that I really like is desktop computers. To recycle those. Inside all your computers, you have a motherboard here. And the biggest thing in the motherboards and in the computers is sticks of RAM. This here is the older PC2, DDR2 type, 1 gig, 2 gig. I've even seen some as small as like 512, 256. The thing is with RAM, 16 to 20 of these is 1 pound. So it takes me probably about 8 computers to get about a pound. And 1 pound of RAM last week was like $15 because the price of gold has gone up. And you guys see the fingers here, the gold at the bottom. That's what they like, is the gold. Even though gold is now, what, $2,000 an ounce, it takes approximately 18 sticks of this for 1 pound. So that's, to me, is $15. Then on the motherboards and in your computers, you have the other components, but the other big thing is the motherboard here. Well, I think this is what, almost $2 per motherboard. So, and then your CPU is here under. I took the heatsink off, but it's a big heatsink and a fan like I showed on the demo. So they don't pay anything for CPUs because it's got that aluminum heatsink. So what I do is I just put each CPU in a box until I get about 18 or 20, and then I'll just list them on eBay as scrap gold. And I've had some people buy them for like 18, 20 bucks for like 18 or 20 CPUs. So it's another way to get it out there and get it recycled and get a little bit extra cash for it. So that's your motherboard. And you have power supplies, and I can show you guys and Pat can read off the itemized list on the checks, but you have, your power supply in your computer. I keep the wire on here because that's how Far West Recycling will want it. Power supply with cable. And then the only other main components, they'll give you steel for just the DVDs or CD-ROM drives. But what I'll do to get a little bit more value is I'll open it up and pop out their circuit board and create a box or a pile of circuit boards and turn it in when I got enough. So that's pretty much how I'm doing recycling. Any other questions?
How long have you recycled like this?
Probably since about 2010, 2012. So, and each time when I started going to Far West Recycling, I've known a couple of people where I go in Hillsboro, and they've taught me how to break it down more. Like when I was just turning in things, I would like turn in a microwave and leave the power cord on. They taught me, basically to cut the power cord off. I get more value for the cord. And if I can take the motor out, because I'll get it for copper bearing, or transformers, they'll use an electric motor or transformer. So looking at the different components, I can get more money instead of just turning it in as one item.
Are you able to save some of it back and wait for prices?
Some I have, like with steel prices, it fluctuates. Like 2 years ago, it was $160 a ton. Now it's almost 200, 225, I think is the max I saw last summer for the price of steel. So that means the price of steel is fluctuated between like 5, 6 cents to 10 cents a pound. And like I said in the video, a lot of components, I will turn it in for steel value because I get cash that day. I don't have to wait for a check. And a lot of the other things like copper, aluminum, state of Oregon's gotten so crazy the last couple of years. They have people turning in street signs, for aluminum body. So that's why they hold it as a check to make sure you're not stealing street signs or guardrails and turning in things you shouldn't be that you stole off of government property. So, but that's pretty much how I'm doing things, and just a lot of things, it depends on the price of steel, and if I need cash, then I'll turn some of the stuff in for steel value because I get the cash that day.
Where do you get your materials?
A lot of it comes from here, and then other things, like people will give me, like the weed whacker, other broken tools, skill saws, whatever. Neighbors, friends, they help me do that. Yeah, Pat, you want to help for a second? Basically, you read what the ticket is, the amount, or the name, the amount, and the price, like, kind of thing. What it is.
Oh, okay, so we have copper insulated wire, 35%, net weight 3, $2.31. Copper transformer small, 4 pounds, $1.28. Aluminum sheets, 8 pounds, $4.08. Hard drives, 3 for $1.89. Circuit boards, 5 for $1.20. And power supply with wire, 8 pounds, $2.40. And the memory boards, 1 pound, $14.50. And circuit boards, Pop B, 6 pounds, $9.72. So you got a check for over $40.
Yeah. And I was just carrying in a small pile of like this kind of stuff, so. It's just, sometimes I'll take in 1 pile a month or 2 piles and get about $40 on average, what I've been doing lately. But it takes a little while in setting it in bins and then getting a time and taking it in. It's just gathering it together and, waiting till I have enough and take it in. So, as you can tell, a lot of the big things that I like are the computer stuff, and especially the RAM, and then the copper transformers. So those are the 2 things. And then a lot of the aluminum that I've been getting lately is from here, or a lot of the old like stuff we had today, some of the stuff that wouldn't sell, and or some of like the old Tektronix stuff that Bauer has brought for the free table sometimes, or the stuff that doesn't sell at the trash bash. I get a lot of the aluminum, and that's why you have to have a magnet and test what's steel and what's aluminum.
Did you ever lose your magnet?
Yes, and I've taken a couple other speakers, and what I basically done is taken, sample speakers like computer speakers or speakers where you can get to the magnet, and that's what I use as a magnet. So.
How much do they pay for Coca-Cola?
I don't know, and I thought Pat said there was only 1 6-pack back there. I didn't think there was that much, but that probably will end up on Craigslist this week. Yeah, I try and recycle what I can and resell what I can. Being disabled, it's a little extra to my disability, Social Security. But I do what I can. I'm not sitting on my butt saying for me like a lot of other blind people.
So remember, Damon is disabled, so I would encourage everyone to bring in their power cords, transformers, just aluminum heat sinks, scrap metal, and Damon, you're here most every weekend, or meeting, every month. So bring the stuff in, and he'll take it home, and he would.
Well, as long as Mike's okay with it. Yeah, I ride with Mike, so it's up to him. But
would it be?
I do appreciate, you guys and all that you guys do for me.
I guess Damon doesn't drive, right?
Don't get me.
Oh, late at night he does.
Yeah.
So Mike takes Damon and all the recyclable home with him, right? Is that okay? You don't mind doing that? Okay, so
We got room for, I only have a Subaru Forester, so it can hold so much, but, so we take home, I just take it over to his place.
So I would encourage you.
then we load it in Robbie's truck.
I just put it in the backyard and hide it from the wife.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure, but I hear y'all say fresh eggs. Did I hear him say that he had fresh eggs?
No.
Fresh eggs?
Okay,
Oh.
that's why I was asking, I don't understand that.
So I encourage everyone to bring in their recycling, rather than throw it in the garbage can.
Yeah.
David will go through it and recycle it, so it stays out of our landfill. So I think he's doing a great service to our society and also to the environment in general. So please bring your stuff in. And I guess if there's not enough room in Mike's truck, Robbie has a truck as well.
Well, he's done that for the trash.
For the
basket.
trash batch, yeah.
I was kind of kidding, because Blake was asking me about, what do we do now? But,
Wow.
Robbie's been really gracious to take Damon's stuff.
From the
He
trash
has a bunch of it left over from, like, for instance, the trash bag.
Well, I have my van, and if there's more than you can handle, I'll be more than happy to take it in my van.
Okay, so far we've been doing just fine, so yeah, we'll see. Depends on what shows up at the auction and doesn't sell.
All right, so good, you guys save all your stuff. I was gonna say, David, if you have power cords and they're perfectly good, rather than cutting them off and recycling them, would you be considered selling them? Because I know that, how much are power cords now? Brand new ones? Buck and a half? So maybe you could bring them in and we could buy them from you.
Yeah, I have saved a couple of good ones that are 2-prong, one with the wider blade, one with smaller, and then I have some 3-prong. I can bring them to the thing in April for the swap.
Sure. Well, I would buy them, but they don't have to be the polarized plug.
Yeah.
I'll buy you either one.
Yeah, I've tried to save some that aren't so cracked, because you've seen some of these old power cords. They are cracked. So, but the good ones I'll set aside and make sure there's a bunch.
All right.
Yep.
All right, thanks. Any other questions for David? Okay, does anyone have anything else before we adjourn this meeting? Yes. Oh, yes, okay. For the door prize for the month of March. You better hurry. Anyone else? Last chance. How about we have Damon, can you draw a ticket for us?
Don't draw yours.
Yeah, that would be really odd.
No peeking.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the one.
Okay, Rob Silver. Yes, Rob, come up and get your t-shirt.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what? Yes, yes, you are. Okay, nothing else. We will adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much. Remember, next month is the April swap meets in Aurora. One table left. There'll be a short intermission, and then Blake and Mike are going to continue with their radio restoration series.
Sometimes getting the chassis plastic, so there's an engine chassis or what? Well, it doesn't have to be, like, I'll have a case, no chassis. So I have some like smaller size. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. It depends on what case. I bet you I have 50 75 cases with no guts. So just think about this before you just, yeah. If I buy something more than what you're getting. Yeah. It's only steel and it weighs. Right. Well, yeah.
Do you get some more junk today?
I bid on a radio, an RF generator, $2, got it.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So this is transistor, right?
Yeah. 9 volt.
Yeah,
1957 Thunderbird. Thunderbird blue, baby blue.
Oh, is that the color? Okay.
So it looks like. Looks like powder blue,
Yeah,
baby
you're right.
blue,
Yeah.
like a Thunderbird or a 57 Chevy.
That's right, yeah. He said it takes a different 9-volt battery. It's like a tubular one. I don't think I've ever
There's
seen
an
it.
orange extension cord back here. I'm doing the very best to keep it out of your way, but it's still on the floor.
Yeah, I can unplug my stuff.
Get tired of it. I can just take it.
He's got a 4 over there. There's 4 outlets